Hey everyone, welcome back to the Going Zero Waste YouTube channel. I'm Katherine Kellogg, and today we're going over 10 things I wish I knew before I started going zero waste. If you saw my last video about how I have been failing at zero waste living, I talked a bit about some of the things that I've been struggling with, some of my failures, and also some of the things that I think I've been succeeding at. One of the big ones is repairing things. That's been my big goal for the year. But as I'm getting ready to get back into more zero waste habits, and as I'm going to be exploring that with you, hopefully we can be exploring this all together. Let me know in the comment section if you feel like you've kind of fallen off the eco-friendly, sustainable, zero waste bandwagon. And if that's something that you're getting into again as well, I'd be really curious to hear about that in the comments. But as I'm reapproaching this journey, I wanted to look back at a few things I wish I had known before I started and how I can adapt those into going forward. Up first, the number one big thing that I will not be doing this second go around, I will not be trying to fit all of my trash into a mason jar. Remember this? When I first started going zero waste, I tried to fit all of my trash into this tiny little jar, and I will not be doing this again because this took so much time and so much effort, and so much of that time and effort I feel could have been better spent on doing other things. The second thing on my list is having time and patience, which is something I'm really not super great at. I'm not super great at waiting and slowly going through things. Instead, I want everything done right away, and I certainly fall into the all or nothing mindset, so I know that that's something I'm really gonna have to focus on as I'm rebuilding, is just making sure that I'm taking time and having patience and going about it in a slow and sustainable way. The third thing is use what you have. So I feel like I'm really good at this. I'm really good at using what I have. I really dislike buying things. When the zero waste movement first became popular, it was all the rage to throw out all of your plastic things and buy new ones. The thing I really like to focus on is ice cube trays because I just did not understand this one. People would throw away perfectly good ice cube trays to get these metal ice cube trays. I'm not even sure how well they worked. Yeah, that's just some of the things I just didn't understand. So don't throw out all of your old stuff and go buy new stuff. Use what you have first. Find new ways to use what you have. And then whenever you really pinpoint a need, in that last video I was talking about how I really need a reusable coffee cup that's leak proof. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and it's one of the things that's prevented me from taking my own cup to the cafe sometimes. Finding the actual pinpoints and the actual areas of where you truly need things, then go out, then buy something new that's gonna serve that purpose. Number 4 is to be prepared to have reactions from other people. I did this great little reenactment short video, which you can watch here.
Do you have a paper towel?
We have cloth towels.
But then how do you... It's no big deal. You can use this. How do you... Like this. Like this. Like this.
People will have some reactions, but they normally aren't that extreme, and I've never really found them to be overly off-putting, so I just say embrace it if you can, and know that sometimes people might make some comments, but on the whole, most people mean really well, and some people are even inspired, and it makes them want to make changes in their own lives. Number 5 is to embrace progress. I feel like I'm really embracing progress right now because I'm kind of almost starting over, and I certainly will be nowhere near as strict as I used to be. I'm just focused on doing my best. Number 6 is to be kind to yourself and others. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. However, it is kind of a canon event whenever you first get really passionate about sustainability or zero waste living to go through and criticize your friends or maybe your family members. It's very counterintuitive, and you're gonna see a lot more results, and you're gonna see a lot more people interested and want to join you if you just happily go about your own business and are making changes. Another great way to really speak to people, maybe that you have a different mindset from, is to find the areas where you do share things in common. For instance, my dad loves to save money. So talking about sustainable changes that he can make that are gonna help him save money is a great way for me to connect with him, even if we don't necessarily see completely eye to eye on every issue. I can make a whole nother video on how to connect with people that you don't see eye to eye on and how to have those conversations and how to bridge that gap. So let me know in the comment section if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. Number 7 is to stay open-minded. So there is constant research and new studies coming out, and maybe something you really believe to be true might not be as true as you thought it was. There was a new study that came out that found that Keurig pods were actually more eco-friendly than drip coffee or just having regular coffee if there was a lot of coffee going to waste. So I thought that was really interesting. What they were saying is the emissions and the impact of growing and creating coffee and getting it to you, if you let that go to waste, has a greater impact on the environment than the small pod itself. Now, I think what's important is that we shouldn't waste food. We shouldn't be wasting any food. Do I think that I'm going to start using Keurig pods? Absolutely not. But the moral of the story is don't waste food and don't think just, oh, I have all this excess coffee, I'm just gonna pour it down the drain. Maybe pour that into a jar, place that in the fridge. You can have some iced coffee later in the day instead of just throwing that out in the morning, and finding ways to make sure that you're actually not wasting any food and also avoid Keurig pods. So it's a yes and situation. I think that's great. Number 8 is that you don't have to conform to a specific image. Thankfully, I think we've really broken that. But back in 2015, 2016, when zero waste was really taking off, there were all these ideas of what someone who participated in a zero waste lifestyle should look like, what their home should look like, what the aesthetic of their Instagram should look like, how they should dress. And they expected it to manifest in a certain way with an all white home, and you had bamboo everything, and you dressed in all neutrals, typically black and white, because those are the most classic color combinations, and you didn't have a lot of personal style opportunities. And I'm so glad that we've shed that, and I think that's really gone away. But if you're just starting out, you don't have to look a certain way. You can dress however you want. One of the things I absolutely love is Michaela Loach always wears bright pink, and I think that's incredible, and it's so wonderful to see someone just so refreshingly embracing colors they love and not feeling like they have to wear only black and white. And I think that's really wonderful, and I hope that we continue to see more and more diversity in how we're expressing ourselves in a sustainable way. One of the major pitfalls I feel like we fell into in the zero waste movement was being so hyper focused on single-use plastic, way too focused on just one material, when all materials have an impact and we should be looking at how we use in our relationships with all of them. Plastic is a fantastic material, which might be something that you would not expect for me to say, but plastic is created to last forever, and it's allowed us so many amazing advancements in science and medicine and bike helmets, and they made cars so much lighter, drastically reduced the emissions for cars, protective gear for firemen. Like, there are so many amazing uses we have for plastic. The problem is how we use that material, and we can be using that material in much better ways. And maybe just a plastic bag that's only going to be holding groceries for maybe 15 minutes probably isn't the best way. So how can we use these materials in more appropriate ways? So don't get hyper-focused on a single metric, whether that's emissions or plastic. Instead, try and look at the bigger picture and make a more sustainable choice. I know that can be a little bit harder and make it a little bit more difficult because there's no one right way of thinking, but it does give you a lot more freedom to think about how can I live a more sustainable life outside of just letting packaging dictate my choices, and how can I think about things on a broader perspective. And the last thing is focusing on individual responsibility. The zero waste movement, especially in the beginning, focused so much on personal responsibility, which obviously I think is very important. It's very important as a piece of this puzzle, but it cannot be the only thing we focus on. We need to be focusing on groups and organizations and how we can join and become a group of citizens, which has a lot more power. Maybe you should join the Sunrise Movement or 350.org. How can you get involved and plugged into your local community, and how can you start making changes there? How can you start going to your local government? Have you ever been to a city council meeting? Are there people that you can speak to about making changes and helping other people outside of yourself? How are your changes going to help change businesses? How can you help change policy? How can we help push a larger narrative? And I think we've been seeing a lot more of this come up, and I think that's fantastic. One of the things I love about 350.org is they often have petitions or scripts where you can call your representatives, and you're also seeing a lot more people collectively do that. And I think that is so incredibly important. So make sure you're registered to vote, make sure you're voting, make sure you're getting more engaged. And those would be the 10 things that I would tell myself a few years ago, as well as some of the things I would tell myself now as I'm going forward. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and follow along if you want to see me kind of restart and reignite my zero waste journey. I'm really excited to be doing this. And let me know in the comment section what you wish you would have known before you started living a more sustainable lifestyle.